Okay, hello everybody. Welcome on this Friday the 13th, this very special day, the fifth day of the Awakening Summit. So happy to have everyone here. And my name is Hollis Citron. I am founder and CEO of I Am Creative, and I am so happy to be speaking to Peta. Panos. Oh my God, I totally did it. I'm sorry. Say your last name.
Panos.
Panos. I thought I had it. I apologize. Peta Panos today. And I'm so happy to be speaking with you. Thank you for being here.
Oh, it's such a pleasure.
And before I jump into your bio real quick and we get into this incredible conversation that I know that we're going to have, I want to say happy birthday to you.
Oh, for tomorrow. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much.
It's a happy early birthday. So Peta is from South Africa and she has traveled extensively. Her story is so incredible. You're going to be like, what? She has had multiple businesses and with no formal business experience has created such huge success where she is sought after for her business expertise. She is so much about conscious creation and energy alignment. So when we spoke earlier, I was just so amazed by your story and I'm reading your chapter. I'm just going to read what you started out the chapter saying, and then we'll dive into our conversation.
Sure.
So humanity has been at a crossroads through the corona pandemic. And the most powerful question we can ask ourselves is, what reality am I choosing to resurrect myself in? I would say in the present and in the post-corona world. So in this topic, actually kind of saying, and I know it's going to change, but how has life changed for you?
Since Corona. Well, everything.
This is our topic. Like, how has it changed for you since all of this? And your story is so inspiring. So if you could please just give us your story, what's been going on in your world?
Okay, well, it really started, I guess, 2 years ago. So one of my most favorite fantasy artists is Josephine Wall. And I've often used her diaries and what have you. So I just finished a journal and wanted to get another one. So I went onto her website and was looking at all of her amazing artwork and noticed that there was a link to a place called the Enchanted Manor. So one of my businesses is Spiritual Quest Journeys, which is, tours and retreats to magical places and sacred sites around the world. And so I was like, oh my God, there's a place called the Enchanted Manor. This is so exciting. So I immediately clicked onto the link and absolutely fell in love with what I was seeing. And it was on the Isle of Wight, which I didn't really know about, which is kind of at the base of, it's a little diamond-shaped island at the base of the UK. And so I reached out to the owner and said, this is who I am, this is what I do, and I would love to bring some retreats. And at the time, they were actually really focusing on weddings only. So we went back and forth a couple of times, and eventually she said, well, actually, it's on the market. So I said, well, I don't know why it's important for me to know about this, but it seems to be. But I've been in the industry for many years, the tourism industry, and I know a lot of hoteliers, and maybe I'm supposed to connect you up with somebody who buys it, because I've connected people my whole life. And so that was it. We went on our merry way. And then in March, in the lockdown, in the first lockdown, I was basically planning some retreats for next year. And I wondered to myself what had happened with the Enchanted Manor. So I sent Maggie, a 2-liner, how's it going? And did you ever sell? What happened? And she came back to me the next day, and they were in the press. They were actually in lockdown in New Zealand. And she said, well, they'd leased it out to a couple for 2 years. But when they got back from their lockdown, it was actually going on the market again. And I was like, oh, that's very interesting. And so we got chatting. And, it was almost like every single thing, the synchronicities were crazy. I mean, even the email address that I used She hadn't looked at in 2 years.
That's what I was just thinking in my head. Like, that's insane. 2 years she hasn't looked at it.
2 years, hadn't looked at the email. And then that morning she had woken up and said to her husband, Rick, I haven't looked at that email for the longest time. I think I might just check it out. And there was my email. So we started communicating. And I mean, it was, of course, during Corona, so I couldn't come over or anything. It was fine. It was only in July that we were able to come and have a look. And fell in love with the place because it is so magical and so mystical, and completely all that I love in a retreat. Lots of elementals and dragon energy, and just such a perfect place for retreats. And so we ended up buying it. And obviously, this led to some very deep conversations with my husband. And we worked out that we wanted different things in our future. And so we decided that it was important to honor both of our dreams. And we decided to consciously uncouple, which we've been doing over the last, 6-7 months, I guess. Wow. And so 19th of October, I moved to the UK, and here I am. So, yeah, it was kind of just the synchronicities of everything just falling into place, from the sale of our house to the move to absolutely everything. And I kind of feel it was in a way an activation for me. It was also me feeling like I didn't want to sit on the sidelines at the time that we're in, when so much healing is needed. And I just realized that having a healing haven myself was kind of activating an old dream that I'd had that I'd actually forgotten about. But 12 years ago, when I left corporate, that was my dream, to actually open up a retreat. And so in a way, that had kind of been fulfilled through Spiritual Quest Journeys. But this was an opportunity to take it to the next level. And so, I decided to go for it. So I took the huge leap of faith and moved here.
Wow. But it's kind of like you planted the seed. I mean, it all started from that artist that you were interested in. And then you happen to see the name of this place. And for whatever reason, it piqued interest in you. And then it sounds like it wasn't much of a struggle, and you weren't really pushing so hard. You weren't like gripping.
Well, I wasn't attached. It was, it kind of, it all just rolled out. And so interesting that you mentioned Josephine Wall, because 14 years ago, when Maggie and Rick Hilton, the previous owners, bought the manor, they actually were inspired by Josephine's artwork. And she ended up becoming a really close friend of theirs. And her beautiful artwork hangs throughout the Enchanted Manor. So, we kind of joke about, without Josephine, none of this would have happened, So, it's been quite the journey. And what our plan is with the Enchanted Manor is to devote it to love. So self-love, romantic love, and love of the divine, because to me, it's so important right now for us to be able to reconnect to ourselves, each other, the earth, and our humanness. So this is our plan. Very much a new earth business, born out of collaboration and sort of honoring and recognizing everyone's worth. And we'll still continue to do the weddings and retreats, and then we'll be kind of a guest house for people just wanting a weekend getaway. But one area that I really want to focus on is a place for women to come. When I was in corporate, every year I would go away at least twice a year on my own for 5 nights, and really just spend that time reconnecting to myself and the earth. And that helps so brilliantly with clarity and actually kind of working out what it is that you want to do with your next step. So I know how important that is in the times that we're living in. And yeah, it all just dovetailed to kind of be the perfect place on so many levels. Yeah.
I think that, I mean, I know that I've had the experience personally, but in talking to so many people in general, this time you kind of have, you don't have a choice but to face yourself and the people around you because
Yeah.
of quarantine and because of, all of this kind of stuff. Like for people that are either alone in their space or with family
Yeah.
or with whatever it is, it's like this awareness, it's this self-awareness, and it's this connectedness, and you can either face it and move and grow, or you can be kind of miserable and kind of shut down and have
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah, well, as you were saying in the beginning, the opening of my chapter, I asked that question: what reality am I going to come out of this? In staying in the fear-based matrix, or moving through onto the new earth, which is a love-based reality. With the ascension that we've been going through since 2000. The old is no longer supported. The old is not working, which is why all the patriarchal systems are crumbling at the moment. And, for every one of us, I think through Corona, we've all understood that we are one. And there is actually no separation, even though that's what we've been led to believe. So, it's about living your best life. And, for me, turning 53 tomorrow, it was also about if I don't pursue my dream now, I'm never going to. And
I have to laugh just because I'm 53 also, and it's the FU 50s. I'm just kind of like, I'm more than halfway there. Like I want to do what I want to do.
Yeah. And you start focusing on your legacy. You start focusing on what it is that you've learned in your life, at the end of the day, whatever you've been through is and overcome is what you can help others with. And we're living in the information age. You can Google absolutely anything these days. The problem is that you don't know what to trust and what to believe, and you get so overwhelmed by the information. So one of the fastest growing industries now is the online world of people that have done it, done it, achieved it, overcome it, sharing their experiences, because that's actually who people want to learn from these days, is not the theory in a book that tells you how, but actually from somebody that can almost guide you through it, and who's walked in your shoes. What's most personal is universal. It's all the stuff that every one of us faces and has to deal with. And that's what I'm finding more and more now is when you want to find the next step, you find somebody that's actually living it or has achieved it or done it or what have you, and that you want to move through it as quickly as possible. Like, we can all figure this stuff out, but it's about the length of time that you want to spend figuring it out, rather than just actually dealing with somebody that's already there. It's a far quicker and easier route.
I think it's a great point, and it's great. And I kind of see it a lot as about connection too. And like you mentioned, that word trust, I think people are looking, you kind of know when you found that person and there's that connection and there's that trust, and you want to learn more about their journey and how they, you kind of connected with them now because of social media and all this. You can kind of see what they present, but then you can reach out and kind of talk to them and really get like a feel, because your inner knowing knows.
Yes.
If they want to take the next step,
yes.
or if it was kind of like a facade and it seemed fake.
Yeah, and that's you touched on an incredibly important point. What's so important now is the discernment of your intuition. Is it actually divine guidance that you're receiving from your higher self, or from your guides or what have you, or is it kind of learned behavior? And it's about the discernment to know in your body what's true for you, and to live and express your own truth. You know, there are so many truths in a way. The thing, you got to find what's true for you.
Yeah. Because then it's authentic. There's two things before, because I know this time is going to go by quickly, but there are two things in the book that I just wanted to touch on that stood out to me, and I know that you can expand on it. The first one was where you said, every one of us contributes to the mass consciousness with our light or our darkness. And this is the time that we chose to come here, so choose it wisely.
Yeah. So, that's true. Everything is energy. And for me, it's about really connecting to the light within, like awakening to the luxury of your divinity, and to explore who you are on a soul level. As we know, it's all about know thyself. And it's about recognizing, firstly, that there's light and dark in all of us. And you actually can't have one without the other.
Right.
So it's about almost befriending your darkness, or your shadow, and coming into that alignment, so that you're moving, you get out of your own way, and you're moving forward, living your life, living the journey of your life in the highest possible vibration that you can. And if you just think consciously, like we're all one. We all affect each other just energetically anyway. It's about really connecting into your heart and to the light within you, and befriending your shadow, really.
I love that, because it's so true. I mean, we are a balance. We have to have one without the other. So we can't blame ourselves and get mad at ourselves for that other part, or for that, quote unquote, negative side or whatever that we might have. But it's a matter of embracing it and choosing being at that higher, moving to that higher vibration.
Yeah. And very often, there's a lot of conditioning that we've had put on us since we were born. We're the same age. It's very much what we've grown up with, the patriarchal system, which is all about power over, domination, control, hierarchy, comparison. So that's no longer supported. So it's about moving into inner harmony within yourself, which is really just the divine union between your divine feminine and your sacred masculine.
Yeah, which is a big topic. I know that you wanted to touch on that, and it's so important. Before we dive fully into that, I guess I was just really, this just caught me as the statement that you made. You said, only you can shift your inner world and therefore your projection. The things we fear most come from being wounded, and underneath all fear is the fear of death.
Yeah.
And I just think it's important. I don't know. I don't think it's talked about that much. And I think it's a very important point that, so much of it does come. What are we here? We're here to live. It's, I've had my kids at a young age. They were like, well, I'm one day closer to death. I'm like, oh my God, you're 10. Like, but it's that awareness of time, and
well, yeah, so many people don't really know they're going to die. Other people die, they get that. But, we all have this kind of inner sense that we're going to live forever, which is actually true, but we do drop our physical bodies. So yes, for me, this was something that I've seen in my own life, and I've also seen with my clients, that underneath all of the fears is really the fear of death. And a lot of that is the fear of loss as well. And it takes you into a very lack and scarcity mindset. When you really know that you're going to die, and I quite appreciate your 10-year-old saying, one day closer to death, because when you remember you're going to die, then you ensure that you live. Think about the people that get told they've only got a year to live, or 6 months, or what have you, and they turn everything around and they end up not dying from this dreaded disease. They end up, living a very full life. And it's because they actually realized, I got to get out of my head. I've got to stop thinking all these negative things about myself. I've got to stop the self-hatred and the self-sabotage and all the fear that, the fear that's holding me back. And that's what happens when you kind of confront death. So yes, for me, it's not a taboo subject. For me, it's so important that we realize it, birth, death. I used to say the game of life in between, but now I say the gift of life in between, because it's literally every day that we're blessed to receive. So yeah, for me, that's a very important thing to remember and to be conscious of. And when you can totally accept your own death, it allows you to live more fully and to live every day to the fullest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the last part with Divine Feminine, and it's your whole journey. It's this inspiring journey of that took some time, which you weren't fully aware that it was going to unravel this way.
No idea.
But you weren't attached to it, and it just kind of came, and then you got to a point where you were like, hey, this is what I want to do, and I want to leave my legacy, and it's that awareness of the end which makes us live.
Yeah, and you ask yourself that question, how can I best contribute? So many, all the women that have contributed to the book, but so many women out there and men want to be in sacred service. They want to do their part and contribute. And so that's a good question to ask yourself. How can I, with all the gifts that I have, and every one of us has gifts, with all the things that I've learned and overcome in my life, what is the way that I can contribute that's going to bring me joy? Because, if we not enjoy when we're doing whatever it is we're doing, the results are never as good as when we love what we do. And that's really what's available to us now is monetize your magic. Discover what it is that you absolutely love, and then put it out there, because chances are there are hundreds of people that are feeling exactly like you did 5 years ago and would give anything to have your wisdom about how you went through that and overcame it, Yeah.
It's so true. Yeah. We don't realize it when we're in it. Just like, yeah, we did it. But when we're so passionate about what we do and when we're of service, to want to be able to share this with others, it's an incredible gift. Yeah. So please tell us what you think of the whole sacred union of the divine feminine and sacred masculine. What does it mean to you?
Yeah, so we spoke about just touching on the subject because it's a concept that gets bandied around quite a lot, and a lot of people don't actually really understand it. So very simplistically, the divine feminine is when you receive divine inspiration. And that comes into your body. If you take it into your womb space, which is our kind of seat of creativity, and you nurture it and feel into it and think about it and kind of do your plans, and then it moves up through your heart, because let's face it, when your heart's not in something, it's never as authentic as it is when your heart's in it. So it comes through your heart and then is expressed through your throat. And so that's the divine feminine moving through you. And then you take action, which is always inspired action, as the sacred masculine. Every one of us has masculine and feminine in our bodies. And it's really the flow of inspiration coming in, internalizing it. So it's an authentic expression and not learned behavior. And then you're expressing it in the inspired action. So that really is the path to ascension. It's when you can befriend your shadow, move out of your own way, remember who you are on a soul level, and then you can reclaim your sovereignty and your freedom, and you rise up through the vibrational scale, always through the gateway of self-love and acceptance, and into the higher vibrations of love, of bliss, of joy, of prosperity, of success, all the higher vibrations. But that's really the path through it. So Yeah, that's kind of a very simplistic way of looking at it. Yeah, because I know a lot of people get a bit confused as to what it all means.
I like how you kind of gave a visual from like moving from literally up the chakra system. Um, I, how do you suggest, like, I know, like with Abraham Hicks and everything, are you familiar with Abraham
Yeah,
Hicks? Yeah, so the whole thing with moving up the emotional scale
yeah,
and not making a huge leap. Like if you're down in depression, you can't jump all the way to joy. That just, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't feel right, and it's just
yeah,
not going to happen.
yeah.
So when you bring it into that womb space and someone is at a lower vibration, what is it that you suggest in order for them to move up to that, up to the joy?
Well, the first thing I would suggest is then move away from that person if that's what's happening. Um, you know, in that moment. But ways of moving or shifting your vibration up, the easiest to remember and the easiest to do is actually gratitude. To actually, even though you doing analysis paralysis and the hamster wheel of your program that's running in your head about how you're not worth it and you're not good enough and all the rest of it, you actually shift it and just start focusing, okay, well, clearly I'm a disaster. However, what is it in my life that I have to be grateful for? And that might just be a roof over your head. It might be food to eat. It might even be the fact that you can see, that your eyes work, that you can hear, that you have arms and legs. Sometimes you got to go right back to the basics when you're really feeling down and depressed, and you think the world's against you. It's almost, I always think going back to basics is the easiest thing. Find gratitude in the tiniest little things, and then clear your energy. Go out into nature, move your body, dance, shift your vibrational scale. I know we're short on time, so I'm going to leap in now. My free gift is, in fact, an energetic process that I learned when I was becoming an intuitive coach in my certification with David Morelli. And it's one of the most powerful techniques that I've learned over the years. So it's actually about clearing your energy from other people's energy, places, and things, and actually re-energizing yourself with pure energy. And so that's the free gift. And that, if ever I'm feeling down, and, we pick up energy from other people, from places, from things constantly. So often, especially if you're a highly sensitive empath, you're not actually, what you're feeling is not even yours. So when you're feeling that pull down, recognize it. That's the first thing. Recognize it, and then take steps to raise your vibration. Hydrate your body, get into nature. These are simple things. I covered quite a few of them in the chapter as well.
Right, you did.
And that's like an instant shift for you. So it's always about how am I treating myself, because self-love is something that we tend to not focus on.
Push to the side. Yeah,
exactly.
Definitely.
But honestly, self-love is the starting point of it all. You've got to fill up your own glass before you can, and take care of others from the overflow, because otherwise you just get drained and eventually burn out.
Exactly. Can you please, before we are almost at the end, and this is such incredible information, please tell people how they can connect with you and learn more from you and about your offer?
Yes, certainly. So connecting with me is really easy. My email address is coaching@petapanos.com. And even easier than that, I have a profile on Facebook and Instagram, so just private message me.
Perfect.
And then the special offer. So what I've done is I've offered a 50% reduction for the month of December on Ascension Alchemy sessions. So I work with many healers and priestesses and other coaches and what have you, where I really help them with their blind spots. So something is that you've got a program that just keeps on repeating. You've done whatever you can to try and shift it. All the good intentions aside, it's just still happening. So it's the real deep healing work. And, if you've ever tried to do any healing work on your own with your ego, it's very tricky to stay in it because your ego spins you out. So really what I do is I hold sacred space for my clients and guide them through. I also see energetically, so I'm looking at what's showing up and I guide them through to heal their blind spots. So it's really about healing the wounded healer. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. So it's for the month of December only.
So for December only. So jump on in. So Peta, thank you so much for all that you offer and all your gifts. It was incredible to meet you, and you are such a bright light. And I wish you a very happy birthday.
Thank you so much. Lovely to be here.
So everybody, happy Friday. And again, reach out to Peta and you'll be very, very happy. So have a wonderful day and enjoy the rest of the summit. Okay, goodbye, everybody.